Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we've got such an exciting foundation review. This is the Chanel Le Beige Healthy Glow Foundation Hydration and Longwear. I was so excited to get my hands on this one. It launched here yesterday, depending on when this goes up. It's been out a couple of days. It's now available on Chanel's website in the US and the UK, and it is my first ever Chanel foundation experience. So I was super excited to try this and see whether I am a Chanel foundation kind of girl. Who knows? Who can tell? So I really struggled online picking my shade. It's been a very long time since I had to pick a shade online from a brand that I have never tried before. So I had no idea what their range was like. I had no idea how strong their undertones are, whether their warm shades were too warm, whether their neutrals were true neutrals. And yeah, it was a whole struggle, let me tell you. So I picked up the shade BD51. Now, against my body, this is super light. But I am happy for that because I wanted to choose a shade that actually is going to work and see me through the winter because, you know, it's September now. We're not going to be getting any more sunny, or not many anyway, very sunny days. We're not going to be spending a huge amount of time in parks any longer, and we're not going to be spending most of our days outside. So yeah, my summer skin is going to fade and fade. So I wanted to pick something that I was going to be able to use into the winter months, and this is perfect. It's not too warm. It's not overly orangey toned. I feel like this is going to be perfect for me in winter, although obviously compared to my bod, although I've warmed it up as much as possible, it's certainly too light for me, you know, right now to be a perfect match against the rest of my body. So bear that in mind if you're a shade twin. This is definitely like my winter shade as opposed to my summer shade. So that's just something to note. So this is supposed to be a light to medium coverage fluid foundation that lasts up to 12 hours and features a weightless texture and a radiant finish for a natural, healthy looking glow. It claims to be super hydrating with a 40% water, so ideal, I guess, for those dry skin types. So let's get on with the application. Now, I put this on first thing this morning, and I'm going to do, as usual, one side using my damp beauty blender and one side using my Refa foundation brush, because I'd like to see which of these methods works best, which is going to give me more coverage, which is going to give me a more smooth, even application. So I'm going in first with the sponge side. So you can see this foundation is super runny. You can really see that high water content here. It's very watery and it feels very hydrating and runny and watery as you're applying it. Now, the first thing I noticed is this has a very strong perfumed scent. You can absolutely smell the fragrance. It smells like a beautiful, luxurious fragrance going on. But if you're sensitive to fragrance, this is going to be a pass for you because it is very noticeable as you're applying this how scented it is. I actually applied a swatch of this to my hand to see what the shade was like when it first arrived, and I could smell the fragrance on my hand most of the day. So as this is going on, what I noticed at first is that it seemed to be sort of sitting on top of the skin. This is going on top of my Tatcha silk canvas as always, and I definitely felt like it was sitting on top of the skin as opposed to really melting into the skin. The first light coat of this foundation on that sponge side, I felt like we kind of were getting a light coverage. So I added another layer to get this up to that medium coverage, and it did that easily. I would say we were easily at a medium coverage, but not really approaching anything like a full with that couple of layers on that side. It stayed super radiant looking and it felt really hydrating. Moving on to the brush side, I definitely felt like this side built coverage faster, but it did take a little bit of effort to eliminate brush strokes on the brush side. I used by now those full 2 pumps that I pumped out at the beginning. So this is about a 2 pumps will get you a really solid sort of medium coverage with this foundation. Again, on the brush side, I felt like it was kind of sitting on top of the skin, and I actually needed to go over it with a beauty blender just to make everything kind of melt into the skin a little more. So here is a close-up. It's still looking really nice and luminous. I feel like everything is starting to kind of melt into the skin a little more by this stage, which is kind of what I was hoping for and expecting with this foundation. It's looking okay everywhere. At the moment, I'm not super excited about it. It's just looking okay for me. There's no real problem areas that I'm noticing at this point, and so far it's just okay. So I finished the rest of my makeup. I filmed another couple of videos and did some editing and had my lunch. So this foundation has now been on for a good couple of hours, and at this point I'm not overly loving it. As you can see here, zoomed out, it looks really beautiful, very skin-like, nice and luminous, but let me show you what I'm not loving about it. So I'm super zoomed in now, and what I'm not loving is I'm not loving how it looks on my forehead. These lines do not usually look as pronounced as they do right now. I'd also say that this area is like my kind of aging problem area, because this is where all my signs of aging are, you know, starting to appear. So things like lines are getting deeper, you know, texture on my upper lip, my chin area, and just around here is just where I'm showing my first signs of aging. And I feel like all of that is exaggerated with this foundation, more so than I would like. I have not set this foundation anywhere other than my concealer areas. So under my eyes, down the bridge of my nose, just a little here, and on my chin is the only places where I applied powder, because that's how I always do my makeup. I don't love to set my whole face with powder. I didn't want to alter the finish of this foundation or help it as far as wear and things like that. So I haven't set this foundation with powder the rest of my face. I didn't have any issues applying like bronzer, blush, etc. over the top of it. It did nothing move, so that's a bonus. But yeah, everything just kind of looks okay for me at the moment. It is soaking into smile lines, things like that, and it do feel like it's exaggerating. It's certainly not smoothing me out or flattering the areas where I have signs of aging. So I did go and have a little look at this foundation in natural daylight. Again, it doesn't look bad. There's nothing I hate about it, but I'm also so far not loving it either. But you know, over the next few hours things can change, so we're gonna keep going and we're gonna see how it goes. It doesn't feel like it's dried down at all. I can still feel it feels wet on my face, so that's worth noting. So yeah, so far it's okay. It doesn't feel especially lightweight on my face. I can feel that I'm wearing foundation. I feel like I can see that I'm wearing foundation. So yeah, this foundation has some work to do if I'm going to fall in love in the next few hours. So I will see you shortly, and let's all hope and pray that that's happened. Okay, so I took a flash photo, and although I guess my face does look bright in this photo, I don't think this is like a white cast. I think this is just a bright flash, to be honest, and the fact that the foundation is lighter than like my body. But I don't think there's an issue with white cast or flashback. I would definitely wear this foundation, you know, on a night out where I know there's going to be flash photography and not worry about it. So how has this foundation worn? Now it is, what time are we at? Now it is coming up to 7 p.m. I don't even know if you can see the time on there, but hopefully you can. It's 10 to 7 here, and it's been a day. This foundation has been on almost 9 hours. It was about 10. When I put this on, I just kind of did the school run, got back, got my stuff together, and then applied it. So yeah, it's been on for almost 9 hours, which is a decent amount of time. It's been a decent day as well. I've filmed a whole other video that was a lot of work, a lot of graft, a lot of editing. We went out for brunch and I did the school run, double school run today in very heavy drizzle. I hope that if you're not from the UK, that heavy drizzle is something that you're familiar with. But I mean, this sounds weird. But essentially it was that light rain, but very heavy the entire time I was on the school run, which was about 20 minutes. So I have got very rained on my face. I completely forgot I was doing a foundation review. So I did make no effort to cover myself or use an umbrella. I was just lapping it up, soaking it up. I love a bit of rain on the face. It's refreshing. I digress. And yeah, there's no marks, nothing moved. I also picked up my son and gave him a big squeeze. It was actually his first full day at school today of life, so that was very exciting. So yeah, nothing really transferred or moved like I probably would have expected it to. It has dried down now. It doesn't feel tacky anymore, but it also doesn't feel, when I touch my face, like foundation. It literally feels like my bare skin, so that's great. I will say that the scent definitely wasn't noticeable for the rest of the day. You can't smell it once it's kind of on and dried down and everything. You can't smell the fragrance anymore. So let's zoom you in and have a real look at how this is actually worn, shall we? So for me, the real only signs of actual wear that we're seeing at the 9-hour mark is I'm very shiny on the side of my nose. I'm a little shinier than I would love to be on my forehead, and I've also noticed there's a little bit of wear on my chin coming, which is kind of the first place I kind of show wear, is on my chin and the end of my nose. Also say that I've lost some foundation like around the nostril region. As far as soaking into lines, I mean, it soaked into my smile lines at the beginning of the application. It hasn't got any worse, hasn't got any better. It's just kind of remained there. The bulk of my cheek area, my forehead area, I wouldn't say I've lost coverage, but you can see I'm a little too shiny on the forehead. So this is definitely one that for me, I would probably prefer to set so that it just doesn't get too carried away. And for that reason, I probably wouldn't recommend this if you have oilier skin. I think although there's nothing I can point to as far as the rest of my face, as far as like wear, I'd say that I just generally look a little more disheveled than I did when I first applied this. It's a little shinier. It's probably a little more faded. Things are just looking a little less polished. For me, this foundation is okay. I think it's nice. I think it looks nice on the skin. I'll certainly wear it again, but it's definitely not challenging like my favorite foundations. As far as this category of like a medium coverage, luminous natural finish, I definitely far prefer the Tom Ford foundation. I prefer the Estee Lauder Futurist foundation. Like the Fenty has more coverage, so that's kind of a different kettle of fish. I prefer the Pat McGrath that has a similar amount of coverage to this one. It's a slightly less glowy, more natural finish to it. So yeah, for me, this is kind of, it's not like fighting its way into like my top 5 foundations in this type of finish, coverage, etc. just yet. I'm going to continue to wear it. As always, I'll update you in my monthly favorites as to whether this has made it in there or not, whether I'm still wearing it, whether I'm still loving it. If you have tried this one, please let us know how you got on down below. It's always useful to hear from other people with different skin types, as my skin type is fairly normal, leaning slightly towards the oilier side. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on this new Chanel Le Beige Healthy Glow Foundation. I hope you found this helpful. I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye.